This is BJ Flores, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So Richard Schaefer, he finally makes the move. After 10 years of working with Oscar De La Hoya, Richard Schaefer finally leaves Golden Boy Promotions. Wow. This is big news, guys. This is a drastic game changer in the sport of boxing. Okay? Now, before we talk about the many possibilities in the future because of this move that Richard Schaefer made, let's first talk about how we even got to this point. Now, for you guys that haven't been following the news, Richard Schaefer was already upset that Oscar De La Hoya even thought about possibly rekindling the relationship with Bob Arum so that they could possibly work together and make some of these fights. Pacquiao versus Canelo and Maidana versus Marquez and so on and so forth. I mean, there's just so many fights that can be made. Now, Richard Schaefer, he had a major problem with that move. Richard Schaefer didn't want to work with Top Rank at all. Matter of fact, he said, listen, man, this is a guy in Bob Arum. This is a guy that called Floyd Mayweather Hitler. He talked about boycotting, Golden Boy fights and so on and so forth. Richard Schaefer was basically saying, I would never work with a guy like that. Okay? I would never work with a guy like that. And if Oscar decides to work with someone like that, then I'm most likely going to leave Golden Boy. Okay? Then we heard Oscar De La Hoya say, we're talking about it. We're working things out, so on and so forth. So we kind of knew that this might be coming, but I didn't think it would be this quick. And I knew Richard Schaefer was serious, but I didn't know he was that serious. That's when some of you guys thought that it was only Floyd Mayweather who didn't want to work with Bob Arum. Now we know there was someone else who had even more disdain for Bob Arum, and that's Richard Schaefer. Okay? I mean, we thought it was Floyd Mayweather, but the disdain Floyd Mayweather has doesn't even compare to the disdain that Richard Schaefer has for Bob Arum. I mean, just think about it. Richard Schaefer, he dislikes Bob Arum so much that he's willing to throw away a 10-year relationship with Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy just so he doesn't have to deal with this man, Bob Arum. That tells you it all. That tells you it all. Once again, man, the truth always comes out for the people trying to make excuses saying, oh, Floyd was just, he didn't want to fight and so on and so forth. He didn't want to fight Pacquiao. But the truth is coming out because now we know that it was Richard Schaefer who really despised, could not stand even thinking about working with this man, Bob Arum. And another thing you guys have to understand is, and I have the articles, I'm going to try to put the links in some of these description boxes eventually, but Richard Schaefer made many attempts to work with Bob Arum. It was funny because you know how Bob Arum is. Bob will just say anything to the media, right? So when Bob says something like, we're ready to negotiate with Floyd Mayweather, Richard Schaefer, he was taking it serious. He's like, oh, okay, he's ready to negotiate, right? So all of a sudden, he's trying to contact Bob Arum, and then he finds out that Bob Arum is on some bullshit. Talking about, oh, yeah, we're going to build this arena, and I'm sorry, we're not ready right now. Maybe next time, because the arena won't be ready till Floyd Mayweather is unavailable. All this type of bullshit. And when Richard Schaefer seen this shit, he said, man, this dude is full of shit. I'm not dealing with him no more. Every time he says he wants to negotiate, he wants to make the fight, I try to get in contact with him, and he's on the bullshit. So this is the way Richard Schaefer seen it. And then Richard Schaefer is looking at the way Bob Arum is handling business, how he's comparing people to Hitler and talking about boycotting fights. And he's seeing all of this stuff. And the more Richard Schaefer sees this, the more respect he loses for Bob Arum. And this is what basically brought us to this point to where Richard Schaefer finally said, I had enough. There's no way I'm doing business with this guy. Okay? Now, to Oscar De La Hoya's defense, I understand why Oscar would want to work with Bob Arum. I mean, quite frankly, I don't even really see it as him just working with Bob Arum. I see it as Oscar De La Hoya trying to find a way to produce the biggest fights that could be possibly made in the sport of boxing. And to do that, you're going to have to work with guys that you may have differences with, okay? And I think Oscar De La Hoya, he understood that. I'm not crazy about Bob Arum, but if I can make one of the biggest fights in the history of the sport or the history of this era or whatever the case may be, then I'll be willing to work with Bob Arum. I mean, think about it. I mean, when you think about it, especially when it comes to Canelo Alvarez, outside of Floyd Mayweather, what opponent out there could help Canelo draw the type of numbers that would easily go over 1 million and beyond when it comes to pay-per-view numbers? There's only one fighter, and that would be Manny Pacquiao. Okay? So it makes sense for Oscar De La Hoya to want to work with Bob Arum so they can make so many more fights. And not only that, but it really makes sense for Bob Arum because unlike Golden Boy, Bob Arum, he doesn't even have that many welterweights, junior welterweights. He doesn't even really have that many fighters. So it really makes sense for Bob to work with Golden Boy. Okay? So, I mean, I kind of understand where both Richard Schaefer and Golden Boy are coming from. But long story short, they have severed ties, and Richard Schaefer is about to move on. So now the big question is, where does Richard Schaefer go from here? Now, there was already talks weeks ago where Floyd Mayweather was basically saying, hey, Richard, if you leave Golden Boy, I would love for you to come work with Mayweather Promotions. Now, that's really interesting because this may actually happen because Floyd Mayweather, he already said that he's leaving if Richard is leaving, Floyd is leaving as well. And if Floyd Mayweather is fortunate enough to have Al Heyman and Richard Schaefer come to Mayweather Promotions and possibly turn a Mayweather Promotions into somewhat of a Golden Boy or Top Rank type of promotional company, now we have 3 powerhouses in the sport of boxing when it comes to promotional companies. I mean, you guys have to realize Richard Schaefer was the main guy that was running Golden Boy, okay? Richard Schaefer is the main guy that got Golden Boy to where they are today, to where they're able to rival big promotional companies like Top Rank and you know, exceed companies like Don King Promotions and so on and so forth. It was Richard Schaefer that built that promotional company from the ground up. And if he can do that for Floyd Mayweather, wow, that would be pretty big. That would be pretty big. So, you know, I have mixed feelings about the situation, though, because I wonder if all of this splitting up, if it causes more division than unity. Because, first of all, I don't even know how many fighters from Golden Boy they're going to be able to snatch from Oscar. Because I know some of these fighters, or at least I hear, maybe, you know, they were just, you know, rumors. But I hear some people say that some of these fighters that's with Golden Boy are specifically signed with Al Heyman. I don't know the validity of that. But if it's true, then that's going to just be create more division. And even though Top Rank will possibly be working with Golden Boy, now we're going to have to worry about the war between possibly Golden Boy and Mayweather Promotions. Unless Al Heyman and Richard Schaefer, they create their own promotional company, which there were rumors of that happening as well. So we just have to see exactly how it all plays out. But it would seem to me that if Floyd Mayweather already has a promotional company, then they would just go ahead and build him up. Unless Richard Schaefer is like, forget this, I'm done with, you know, working for other people's promotional company, and I want to come out with my own. So, you know, that's all possible. It'll be very interesting to see how things play out now that Richard Schaefer has made this big-ass move, and Floyd Mayweather and Al Heyman are most likely following him. Well, we know Floyd Mayweather is definitely following Richard Schaefer. So some good will come out of this, and we'll probably get some bad that will come out of this as well. The good part of this is Golden Boy will most likely start working with Top Rank, which we may get to see a lot of fights that we thought we would never get to see. I mean, you guys already know the fighters that are on Golden Boy's stable and the fighters that are on Top Ranks. Once again, guys, this is a big game changer. Richard Schaefer leaving Golden Boy and Floyd Mayweather leaving Golden Boy. I mean, this is going to cause some serious ripple effects, and I'm really interested to see how this changes the future of boxing, because it will alter the future of the sport. So I'll keep following this story, guys, and that's pretty much all I got. I'm on to the next one.